America. My name is Osei-Frimpong, and I feel pretty comfortable telling you that in these United States, dads create winners. Once again, I'm telling you that in these United States, dads create winners, and that's a cultural aspect that is not going to be true in immigrant populations in all places and all times, but I really do believe that definitely in certain arenas, but I wouldn't be surprised if this can be generalized. It's the dad's contribution that makes a winner as opposed to a role player. Because you can become an institutional role player. It's easy. You just got to sign up and pay the money and you can become a role player. Everyone, this is America, all civic institutions will take your money and make you a role player for the right price. And you'll be then either work for or be kind of destroyed by the winners, who will be the contribution of the dad, right? So, and I say this because I just came from my kids' cross-country meet this week. By the way, this is my kids' cross-country meet. The youngest one won first across the whole league. Like if you add up the points throughout the season, he won first. And then at the league championship meet, he won first. So, and then the other kids won second and third, both across the whole season. And then at the meet, at the league championship meet, they won. So they all won their first trophies this year. My bottom two might set the record next week at state, which I think is pretty good. But what I noticed all the races had between 50 to 100 kids in them, and all the kids can compete, and all of them belong to teams, and all of them could compete. But of the winners, if you take the kids, the top three places in each one of the in each of the races, I think my 8-year-old's the youngest. He had like 100 kids in his race, 130 kids in his race. If you take the winners, the top three places, all of them the instruction was done by the dads. Like now they all came from, all of the winners seem to come from two-parent households, but not only that, all the top three placers, they had their dads doing a lot of the primary coaching or secondary coaches. Although they all belonged on teams, their dads worked with the girls and boys separately and pretty intensely. Right. So the winners were created by the dads. And this is dads creating winner daughters too, not just working on their sons. Don't let the feminists can fool you about how this works. Dads were working on their daughters, and their daughters were winning races and creating championships. My kids got trophies, and I do a lot of their work for them and with them, and I run with them, and I plan their workouts with them, and a lot of it's kind of a hostile process. Although they liked winning, and they liked winning the trophies, and what I noticed was all of the other winners, all of the other people who won trophies, their dads were substantively in kind of their training understanding. Now, this might just be cross country, but I suspect that's the same in most other things. Now, the moms were very active. Everyone had the moms, and there possibly more moms present there than dads, for all the racers. But the people who just had their moms there, those kids were getting beaten by the kids who were trained by their dads, right? So I'm not saying that the moms weren't present or moms don't matter. I'm just saying that if you want to win, one aspect of winning seemed to be having a dad in charge of your training, along with a good coach. But the coach seemed less important than having a dad in charge of the training and taking it seriously. And I think this is due to American culture that genders a lot of risk and work, and understands that a lot of this. I mean, you win these meets not at the meet. You win them in practice. You win them in home practice. You don't even win them in practice with the with the team. You win them in home practice. And so if you don't have people who understand that, and you think you can just sign up for the team, and then, you know, if the kid wants to or likes it, they'll just kind of train themselves or all of that, then if you believe in that kind of magic, then yes, you will get beaten by my kids. A lot of those kids did get beaten by my kids. And you'll get beaten by the other kids who's like dads, then take it as a family project to make this the kind of family that produces championships in this sport, in this given sport. So I think dads make championships, coaches and single mom make role players. And that just might be how that is the case. That's a strong statement to make. And I do think it'll be different in something like gymnastics or cheerleadings. And I wonder how the second generation works, because what I suspect, what I worry about is these dads are going to make women champions who then don't figure out, if they're not careful, they're not going to figure out that it was their dad that made them champions, and they're going to assume that the kids, their own kids, will become champions without actually being the force as moms who will make the kids champions. And there's a kind of laissez-faire attitude that believes that institutions will do the work with respect to the moms who are, and they'll yell at they'll scream and cheer at the race, but the day-to-day practicing, the kind of grunt work, grind of making a champion, I'm not convinced the moms really know or willing to do, because a lot of it's just fighting with the kid. And if you don't have a stomach for like forcing your kid to do things that your kid doesn't want to do, then your kid will lose to my kid, because I do have the stomach for forcing my kids to do things that they don't want to do. And you know what happens? They end up doing it, and because they want my love and approval, they end up doing it, and then they end up liking that I did it. I forced them in the past, because now they get to, you know, come home with trophies. My oldest is hilarious because she was the most recalcitrant, but she also loves her trophies the best, and was very grateful. And, you know, she had to win the race. I can do all the work and the training with them, but at the race, that's all them. They have to do it. And I can just kind of like clear and give like small instruction, but you win in practice. Like, she became a champion in practice, and that was kind of a hostile endeavor, and then she became a champion. But what I noticed was all of the other top 5 kids in all of the races, girls and boys, it was their dad who was doing a lot of the primary coaching and primary strategizing throughout the year and throughout the off season to make their kid into a champion and running with the kid and all of that stuff. Now, I do think this particular gender distribution is not unique to the U.S., but can't be universalized, because I think that in for historical reasons, in different places, they have different understandings of what like gender contributions mean. And so like there are some like no BS moms who, if they know how to be champions, will 100% make their kids champions, and will do the work required to not just work, but take on the risk of fighting with their kids and fighting with the culture in order to make their kids champions. But I don't think that is common. Oh, hey, come say hi to the people. This is my 8-year-old.
You're 7, not 8.
You're 7. I know you're 7. You run with the 8Us. I was just telling them about that. You're a champion. But by the way, go ahead and say hi, people.
Hi.
Hi. So did you win your race on Saturday?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you win your race on Saturday? How do you think you're going to do on state this week?
Good.
You think you're going to do good? I don't know. It's the whole state, not just the league. But do you feel comfortable?
Yeah.
Confident? You're going to work hard?
Yeah.
Now the question is about that state record. What do you think about the state record?
I don't think I can do that.
You don't think you can win the state record? But we're going to come close. How about that? We're going to come close and we're going to do our hardest. And I think you can do it, and we're going to get there together, and we'll just talk about it later. But where did you come to show me? Oh, you're typing. This one's learning how to type. So, wow, okay, and he's doing very well. So you can go on to lesson 10. So you can go on to lesson 11 now. At lesson 8,
So I'm done.
you're done. You're done. You can be done. All right, well, I'm done, and we'll get back to work when I get done with my show, okay?
Yeah.
And there are 18 lessons. At lesson 18, he knows the whole keyboard. And he's at lesson, what are you going to do tomorrow?
11.
He's going to do lesson 11 tomorrow. And lesson 18, he knows the whole keyboard. And he's 7 years old, and he's wonderful. I think you're wonderful.
He said when I finish lesson 10 I could.
Yes, you can. All right. So, yeah, so of the winners were driven there by their dads. And you got to just understand what that means. And I think this is a and if they are not driven there by their dads, what ends up happening is they lose to my kid. Or they lose to other kids whose dad taking them to where they have to do it, which is fine if you want your kid to be fed to my kids. But I'd rather your kids be colleagues with my kids. And so I'm just telling you right now that we throw away dads at apparel. And as a culture, black people, we throw away dads at their peril because you end up just creating chum for people with actual dads who know what they're doing. And so Dawid ben Yehuda Israel said it's up to the individual to do it. And that's kind of true, but with children, it's not even, their individuality is still wrapped up in their family. They're like it's us who get them up to train. It's us who wake them up. So they don't even have a real robust individuality. And I think people need to understand the individuality as children as a function of a family identity. It's not emancipated until they're adults. We are everything is a concerted effort. Now in the race, they have to actually run. I can't answer the SAT problems for my kids and all of that stuff, but it's more than just leading a horse to water. I'm actually putting the water down its gullet. In the same way that some animals kind of chew their food before giving it to the animal to chew. Individuality is not really a thing until adulthood is a thing. So you are not only deciding the totality of needs, the particular way in which they meet their needs, but you're also the spring of activity. You are part of the spring of activity. You are waking them up. You are brushing their teeth for them. You are doing the work, and there is no kind of robust individual child who's acting without the consequence. This is why when children do bad things, I blame their parents. I'm quick to blame parents. I am quick to, anytime I see a child who's misbehaving or anything, I blame their parents, because that misbehavior is a concerted effort. Because they are not themselves until adulthood. They're growing into themselves, but even their activities are what appear to be individual activities are really concerted efforts and actions in concert. And parents just need to take this seriously, and they don't. So yeah, if you want a role player, just sign them up for anything. Just send them to school. If you want a winner, or you can pay for a private tutor who is also going to make your kid a high-level role player. But if you want a real winner and you really want a real champion, it's going to be a family. And in America, it's going to be necessarily the dad, because I do think that there's a way in which we've gendered the grind. We've gendered the grind to excellence onto men. So and then what it is to grind somebody else into excellence onto men, because I don't think a lot of moms have the stomach for that kind of like instilling discipline that's required. So you need the experience of actually winning yourself, so you know what to teach, and then the disposition to instill discipline into a recalcitrant material, which like I have 4 days to convince that kid that he can take 20 seconds off his time and take a chance at the state record. He wants up to his 11 devices. He'll be happy if he just wins state and then sets the record next year, because he's only 7 and he's got 1 more year in this age bracket. But it's my job to instill the spiritual foundation, and I think that's right, to instill the spiritual foundation required for him to actually take ownership of breaking this record this year and not waiting till next year to do it. And whatever, I'll tax my creativity in the next 5 days for him to do it. But what I noticed of the winners, not the people who signed up, not the people who could play, but of the people who won, it was the dads. It was the dads who were driving them. I also noticed that of the winners, I don't think a lot, like of the winners' family, I don't think a lot of them are going to vote for Trump. I mean, I don't think a lot of them are going to vote for Kamala Harris. I'm just saying there's a way in which conservatives are better parents about these things. My vote's still out. I'm probably going to vote for Kamala. But in that setting, like, I could say with a decent amount of confidence that, Trump would, if you poll the winning families, they're going to go with Trump. And you just gotta understand what that means and do with it what you may. But don't just deny the truth. Don't just deny the truth about how if you poll winners, it's their dads. And I wouldn't be surprised if this goes all the way up to the Olympics. And this goes with sons and daughters too. It was dads working with their daughters, because don't let the feminists talk to you about patriarchy as if dads don't care about girls. These dads care very much about their daughters, and they're turning their daughters into winners who will then consume your son. And so, like, I don't know what to tell you. Before, Parker says in another video, I talked about taking my kids to church. Well, so I was taking my kids to church, and it was actually tricky for me to find a church where the parents were good. Most of the parents, like, we had to leave our church because the parents were just bad at parenting. All of their kids were just a degradation of their parents, a step below. There were no family had kids who were better than their parents. And this was, at first we went to like a church with a really good daycare, because I wanted to be able to actually like not have to mind my kids, especially when they were very young, when I was actually like, hearing the word. So we picked our church based on like the money they had for daycare. But then I realized both the adult children of the older members and the contemporary children of my age, whose kids were my age, their families weren't great, and they weren't great parents. They had money because they were white, but they were like, all of the kids were just a step down version of their parents. And I didn't want to, once my kids became older, that I didn't need the daycare. I wasn't particularly excited about going to a white church, but I'm definitely not going to send them to a kid. I'm definitely not going to go out of my way to go to a church full of white degenerates whose kids were, like I said, a step down from the parents just because the parents were doing well. So yeah, a lot of professors whose kids were drunks, and then they're just like at every step, the kids were worse than the parents. And if, some of you had very high functioning parents, so the kids were still high functioning, but still not better than the parents. And I want to go to a church where all of the kids were better than the parents. I expect my kids to be better than me at everything that matters. That one can already run 2K about as fast as I can, and I'm not slow. And he's 7. Like, I want all of my kids to be better than me at everything that matters. And that's what I'm going for. But apparently, a lot of parents are jealous of their kids' success. And I didn't know this. It's ludicrous to me. But apparently a lot of, especially women and moms, are jealous of their kids' success. And that is like gross. But apparently it's a thing. But yes, dads create champions. But everybody can create an also-ran or role player who then gets eaten by the kid who's created by their dad. And you could talk about anomalies like, I don't know, LeBron James or Simone Biles possibly. But all of them, I think, would have been better had they had a functional dad. Like, all of them would have been better had they had real dads. And I don't think you can base general practices off of outliers. I just know that of the champions at this league championship last weekend, if I wanted to know real training secrets, it was the dads I talked to of the other people with trophies. And then all the people without the trophies, you talk to the moms, and they're just happy that their kid had fun. And I was surprised that I was doing things with my kids on the off season at nighttime. Yeah, but can I make a video on how I train my kids to run? Okay, yeah, I can do that. That should be pretty easy. I can make a video how I train my kids to run. Real quickly, you build up endurance by just slowly. You got to do like I'm okay. You just do a half mile every day. It's got to be every day though. Consistency fast because we're building a beast. Half mile fast. You can start with 100 meters. Actually, you should probably start. You want to start with more than a comfortable distance, right? So start with like a quarter mile, a 400, fast. And when they can run that fast and with kind of a dedication and with a purpose and run it strong, then you lengthen the distance. And right now, we as a family run a little over a mile every day, like pretty quickly. A little over a mile every day, pretty quickly. The mile pace is probably around, I don't know, 6:15, 6:30. And that's with all three kids and me. We do it. My wife also runs, but, you know, she's a little bit behind us. And we run that. And, you know, that's with sports. Now, it might be different with school. It might be different with school and possibly education. You'll have to poll valedictorians in the top 10 of every class. And the top 10 non-immigrants of every class. Poll the top 10 non-immigrants of every class to see who's doing the work. Because I do think this is a specific U.S. thing. That dads create champions and, you know, moms who play well with others create role players. But I'm just saying what I'm thinking. All right. Yeah. I mean, I will agree with Robert Reed, who says, I think women who do understand the grind get particularized in a certain way because women are not supposed to grind in the United States. Yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with saying that. But if you want a kid who's going to win, then you can't get them taught by someone who doesn't understand not only the grind, but grinding. Because it's one thing to understand the grind because the grind has been inculcated into you. It's another thing to have the disposition to grind another person for their own good. because that takes a quality of concern and care. I was about to say heartlessness, but it's really a quality of concern and care that might not be enculturated in you. So, thank you for your time, and I will talk to you about something else, something similar. I'll talk to you about something something similar, but the spiritual importance of family and how family and how family particularizes children in a way that's important for them to be a general anything. Right? So you need to be a particular something to be a general anything. Every sort of every player has a position, right? And you need to be particularly good at that position in order to be a good player. If you're just a player without a position, you're not really that good of a player. So you need to particularize in order to excel. And divorced families have a hard time particularizing because they have irreconcilable differences, which will uphold two worthy but inconclusive particulars. And so it ends up with kind of a schizophrenic childhood. But I'll go more into the argument, bring in some Hegel the next time on a different videos. Take care.